everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Points of Articulation. I'm your host, Dave, and if you're new to the channel, welcome everybody. Today I'm looking at the Star Wars X-Wing TIE RB Heavy Expansion Pack, released in 2020. Now, this vessel was first seen in Solo: A Star Wars Story. So the TIE RB Heavy, also known as the TIE Brute, featured a heavily armored chassis, more firepower. As we could see, we do have a turret here, and yes, it moves. We're going to look at that later. Very exciting stuff. Now, besides being heavily armored and having more weapons, it was also very cool because it had an integrated droid brain in there, which acted just like an R2 unit or another astromech. So this is really awesome, and I love the idea that not only does it have the armor and the weapons to go with it, but the pilot also has a droid with him or her that's going to help the fighter pilot out. And that's really cool. I like that aspect. So real quick, lately I posted a bunch of photos to my Instagram and also my YouTube community tab. And I've been getting a lot of messages or comments asking me where I got this ship from. Apparently it's hard to find. I got mine from Red Seal Gaming, located in South Amboy, New Jersey. It's a tiny miniature tabletop game store, and I fully recommend you check it out. The owner's name is Dan. He's very welcoming and also very knowledgeable of games like Star Wars X-Wing, Warhammer, Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, all that fun stuff. So if you're into any of that, or just tabletop games in general, check out the shop. Tell him Dave from The Points of Articulation sent you. It would mean a lot to me, and it would also mean a lot to the owner. So anyway, that's everything I really wanted to say. Just where I got the game. It's a great little shop, and I really feel that some of you out there would really appreciate it. So now, let's get back to the review. So now for the ship's size, I have a couple measurements for all of you, so we have a good grasp of how big this actually is. It's just under 2 inches tall, over 1.5 inches long, and almost 2.25 inches wide. So this is a very sizable vessel. So we do have a lot to cover today. We're going to take a look at the dials and tokens, the cards, the rules, look at the mold, get a nice close-up, see what we're actually buying here, and then we'll look at the paint, put it on a stand, compare it to some other pieces, and then we'll be done. So let's get started. Alright, now it's time for my favorite part in these videos, the dial token roll call. 1 maneuver dial. 2 medium ship tokens, which are double-sided. 3 calculate tokens. 3 ion tokens. 2 focus tokens. 3 strain tokens. 1 reinforce token. 2 stress tokens. 2 charge tokens. 1 critical damage marker. 1 medium single turret arc indicator. 2 target lock number 13 tokens. 3 ship ID tokens, number 13. And finally, 1 dial ID token. So that does it for all the dials and tokens. Now let's take a quick look at the cards. So starting off looking at the upgrade cards, like in all my videos, I will read the name of the card. If you would like to pause the video and read all the stats below, by all means, go right ahead. First up, we have Ablative Plating, 2 Deadeye Shots, Heavy Laser Cannon, Ion Cannon, 2 Ion Limit Overrides, 2 Snap Shots, Synced Laser Cannons, Maneuver Assist MGK 300, and Target Assist MGK 300. Now, an interesting thing about these ships, or I should say the cards, is that normally with something like this, it would be like that with double sides. But I guess they messed up or something like that, and they produced it like this. Because normally with these upgrade cards, the symbol's on the other side. So I don't know, kind of interesting. But needless to say, we are done with the upgrade cards. Now let's take a look at the ship cards. Alright, for the ship cards, first up we have Lighten Dree, Rampage, Karita Academy Cadet, and Onyx Squadron Sentry. So that does it for the ship cards. So now let's take a quick look at those quick build cards. And here they are. Here is the first one, and here is the second one. So that does it for all the dials, tokens, and cards. Now let's take a quick look at the rules before we look at this beautiful ship. And now looking at the rules, first up on page 1, we have all the components that come with this particular miniature. As we can see, not only does it tell you about the ship, the stand, and the tokens, but it also gives you a very nice list of all the cards that come with the set. For the interior on page 2 and 3, we have some new rules talking about strain tokens, exposing damage cards, And of course, telling us all about how to use the weapon on the TIE RB with that awesome turret on the side, and how to use the target indicator. And finally, on page 4, we have all our copyright crap and credits. So that's everything for the rules, so now let's get to this beautiful ship. So finally, let's start looking at this ship. Like in all my other videos, I will go over all the major sections of the vessel, and then we'll get a nice close-up look to see those fine details. So this, just like every other TIE fighter, has the 3 main components. We have our solar array wings, our pylons, and also our center cockpit sphere. Now, it does have an added section right here of a twin laser cannon, and we'll look at that in a few, but for the most part, it stays the same as other TIE fighters. Thins are moved a little bit, but for the most part, it's identical. So let's go over these main parts, shall we? We have our wings, like I mentioned before, and we can see they're just an upscaled version of a normal TIE fighter. We have our braces, our paneling, which looks great. That's the same for the inside and out. Pretty nice. We have our pylons, which are reinforced. Very nice and beefy, and we're going to get a close-up of all this stuff in just a few. But pretty nice. Then we have our cockpit, our transparent steel viewport, laser cannons below, peg port for the stand at the bottom, looking good, aft window, and then we have our ion engines right here, this little orange nib, and right over here the other orange nib. So that's pretty cool. We have our cockpit hatch, looking awesome. I love the couple windows they have right there, looking good. And then we have the pylon that extends out, and then we have this section here, which is a twin laser cannon. And we can see there's a little window right there. And then we have these 2 giant barrels on the sides. And what's cool about this is that it can rotate. So let's take a quick look at that. So looking at the turret right here, we can see how it's nicely detailed. The barrels look amazing. We'll take a look at that in a few. But it can rotate up, and then you can actually push it all the way back so it faces the aft. And that's pretty awesome. Looking back here, we can see this like cool track system there. Looking pretty dope. Now, it doesn't go down at all. It mainly focuses towards the aft. And then if you rotate it to the forward. All in all, a nice gimmick. That's awesome. I love the moving part on here. Now, next to that turret, we do have our other pylon, which connects it to the wing. All in all, a very interesting vessel. So now, let's get a closer look. And now, having a closer look, let's begin looking at the wings first, and then we'll move to the pylon, main body, and then this cool-looking turret. Oh, I'm not going to jump the gun. Let's start looking at the wings. So, right here, we have our basic TIE Fighter wing configuration. We have the little lip at the top, raised section, the braces and supports coming down, and then our solar panels, which look pretty good. So let's get a nice look at that. As we can see, everything is nice and detailed. Looking good. I love the centerpiece here, as always. Looking fantastic. Nice. Now, the wings are identical. There's no differences here whatsoever. So, pretty cool. The interiors are the same. You can see a little glue splatter on here, but the detailing is identical. You can also see these little hairs that are here. I have no clue what these are from, but they're in the paint. Like, I can't even get them off without a tweezer. I sort of cleaned a bunch off, but they are in there. So I don't know if some dude or woman in China has a beard, or maybe some animal. I don't know. But I guess it is what it is. Now, what I do like is this section here where the brace meets the pylon. You can see some great looking details there with the supports. Looking fantastic. And that's the same for this side as well. Looking pretty cool. Nice. Now I could see why a lot of people were really excited about this ship. It's actually a beautiful one. You can see the pylon right here. Looking very nice. Love the detail in there. And what's cool is it's supposed to be heavily armored. And it looks it. You know, you have these extra pieces of the metal layered on there. And I think it's a nice touch. Really cool design in my opinion. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this vessel? Now over here, look at all the detail in there. We have some recesses, some raised sections, all that armor. That is really nice. I love the angles as well. A fantastic job. Really cool. Let me just turn it so everybody could see better. And just look at that. That is amazing. Just the angles, especially where it meets the cockpit. Fantastic stuff. And then coming down, pretty cool. Moving down, let's start looking at the cockpit sphere and this mid-pylon, if you will. We can see some beautiful detail in here. Peg port for the stand, or other edge of the pylon, and ion engine. Just looking amazing. As we come to the aft of the vessel, look at all this. We have our two engines, our aft window, some nice detailing coming around there. Nothing is flat. Look at that. That is awesome. And the cool thing is this little ion engine here, if I turn it like this, it's actually sticking out, which is pretty cool. I think that's a nice touch. And then coming up to the top of the aft, we have some beautiful line work modules, little recesses over here. Just great stuff. Looking at the top, we have our cockpit hatch, little windows, which if you look real close, you can see they are recessed in and filled with the glossy black paint. But I love the detail in here. Just really amazing stuff. They really did amazing with here. And what I really love about this is look at the tiny details scattered throughout. This is a fantastically done piece, which should shock nobody at this point. Out of all the ships I look at, Fantasy Flight Games just knocks it out of the park every time. Looking at the front, we can see this beautiful design here for this mid-pylon. Nice designs going around with the lines and modules. Little raised sections for the laser cannons on the bottom. And then look at the transparent steel viewport. All the windows are recessed in. This nice armor going around. Really cool. I think this came out great. We can see how the windows are recessed in. Awesome. Coming down to the turret now. We have our little window. Molded very nice. You can see how it protrudes out. Window is recessed in. Then we have our barrels. And you can see how this one's a little tilted. Let me get a better angle. Here we go. You can see right about here it tilts down. I don't know. Technically, based on data, these are supposed to be able to pivot. So I'll accept it. You know, it makes mine a little different. It's not broken. It's just leaning a little. And as we looked at, it can rotate. So, you know, pew 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 pew. But around here is pretty nice. I love the detailing. Very cool. Looking at the top. And just look at the barrels too. Nicely molded. It reminds me a lot of World War II guns. Which it's Star Wars, so I guess it should. A lot of their weaponry is based on World War II stuff. But coming to the aft, very nice. Love the detail in here. Pretty cool. Coming down, we have our other gun. And just very nice stuff for the aft and the bottom. Nice. So that's basically everything about this ship. It is a beautiful piece. Nicely detailed and worthy of the collection. It really is. Nice work. And that's everything I have to say about the mold. In short, this is a beautiful piece with a nice moving component. Sure, it may have its little issue with the barrel on the turret, but you know what? It's my own and I love it. So now let's take a look at the paint. And now looking at that paint on a Star Wars X-Wing TIE RB Heavy, this baby features 7 different colors. First up is this nice blue or bluish gray, depending on what you want to call it, for the main color of the vessel. We can see it on the cockpit, the pylons, the turret, and even the supports. Very nicely done. I like it. Great color choice. Now to build upon that, we do have some red in the back for the ion engines. We have orange for the laser cannons. Some gray on the supports here around the transparent steel viewport, which is painted glossy black. And we can see the same color scheme for the turret window right there. Looking good. And then we have some glossy black for the windows at the top of the cockpit hatch. The aft window, you can see how glossy that is. And on the bottom, there is nothing. Moving on from there, we also have some black. We can see it on the tips of these turret cannons. Looking good. And also on the solar arrays, which look amazing. Interiors and exteriors done pretty well. Nice. And finally, if you've been watching my channel, you know what's next. A wash. And it covers every nook and cranny of this ship and really brings it to life. You can see how it's a little dark in this crevice around the turret, the barrels of the turret as well, and just the main ship in general. Very nicely done. I can't stress how great this looks in person. You can see how it's a little heavy going around the bottom here, but beautifully done. All the little details really pop. And that's what I love about these ships. The mold and the paint work together to give us something really special. Normally, it's just a mold and the paint's just slapped on, covering up all the details. With these, yeah, they may be a little pricey, but you know what? You get what you pay for, and what you get is almost perfection. These look amazing. So that does it for the mold as well as the paint. So now let's put this baby on a stand, compare it to some other vessels, and then we'll be done. And now looking at the stand, just like other X-Wing vessels, it comes with a cool translucent base and 2 rods you connect to make a large pylon. Just peg it into port like so. Grab your ship and remember to be gentle. Put the peg in the port. And just like that, everybody, let's fix that turret. You are good to go. And now for a super size comparison with the Star Wars X-Wing TIE RB Heavy. Seen in the center, I have almost every other TIE fighter from this particular era. So let's move from the right all the way to the left and go through all of them. Now, relatively, these are all to scale, which is awesome. So we have the Mining Guild TIE Fighter, Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, TIE Interceptor, the TIE Advanced Prototype, TIE Fighter, and also the TIE Striker. All in all, these are some awesome looking vessels and they all go well together. Now I have to say, I did review some of these, so if you're interested in seeing any of my other videos, check the links in the description below. So for some added bonus size comparisons of ships I will be reviewing very shortly, here we have some new X-Wing vessels. On the right hand side, we have the Jedi Starfighter with Hyperspace Ring for the Republic, very nice. And on the left-hand side, we have the Droid Tri-Fighter. And just look at the size of this little guy. Pretty impressive, but as we saw in Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars, in packs, these are deadly. And for the last size comparison with the TIE RB Heavy seen on the left, on the right-hand side, we have the Houndstooth, Bossk's vessel. If you don't know who Bossk is, he's the reptilian lizard bounty hunter that you saw in The Empire Strikes Back next to IG-88 and Boba Fett. Really interesting character. He was in the Clone Wars and stuff like that. But you can see that the ship is massive compared to the TIE Brute over here. Very interesting. A nice vessel. We're going to be looking at this very shortly on the channel. I really want to start looking at some different unique ships, and until Armada vessels come out, X-Wing has a wide array of different vessels from every faction so far. So we're going to be diving into some of those ships very soon. But nonetheless, a lot of great ships here. And that does it today for my review of the Star Wars X-Wing TIE RB Heavy Expansion Pack released in 2020. This TIE Brood expansion pack gives you everything you need to add one TIE RB Heavy to your Imperial faction of X-Wing. And you know, if you're an Imperial player, I would say go for it. Even if you're just collecting miniatures, this thing looks amazing compared to other TIE fighters. Looking at the mold, I thought it was amazing. Sure, it has a little, warp to the bottom turret, but it's not that noticeable for the most part if you're just glancing at it. I like this ship. I think it is very unique, even though it's just a TIE fighter with some added bits. I love the detailing, the line work, the modules, the little recesses, and the little lines. All those components just add up, and when you add that together with the wings and how the turret can actually rotate, it really makes this ship something special. Now moving on to the paint, I think it's another home run. Fantasy Flight Games are just knocking every single paint job out of the park. This is another winner in my eye. We have 7 colors working together, and what I love is the paint isn't thrown on to cover the mold, to mask imperfections or anything like that. Oh no. As we know, FFG takes their beautifully done model and enhances it with the paint. We get a base color, another color, and a wash. And when you add all that together, the model just pops. The black wash or some other color wash they throw on there fills in every nook and cranny and makes it look worn and used, and adds a layer of realism, which makes these vessels very special. So having said all that, that's everything I have to say about the TIE Brute today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button. And if you like to see new videos every week, subscribe. Again, to all of you at home, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my content. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.